What do you get when you take a Square representative and a Disney representative and put them in an elevator? You get Kingdom Hearts. That's a true story, by the way. Final Fantasy and Disney is a match on par with Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan in the what the fuck category. One is about happy-go-lucky characters going on fun adventures, and the other is not that. It's a combo that really has no business working together, and yet here we are with another successful entry into Square Enix RPG catalogue with a combined total of 30 million copies sold. Inspired by the runaway success of Super Mario 64, the team at Square were like, hey, we can do that too, so they started brainstorming ideas that could rival such popularity. Of course, to do that would be a monumental task, hence this. Led by one Tetsuya Nomura and under the guidance of Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi, the collaboration between one of the most beloved animation studios versus Japan's treasured RPG maker was born, resulting in what we now know as Kingdom Hearts. The version I'll be playing is the 1.5 remix version released on the PS3 and PS4 as part of the 1.5 and 2.5 combo pack, containing just about every game of the series, or about every single game you'd want to play anyway. Why make the distinction at all though, you might be asking? Well, from what I understand, the original PS2 version is considered the base game, or at least the version that was first released in Japan. When Kingdom Hearts was eventually released worldwide, it contained content that wasn't in the Japanese version. The game was then re-released in Japan under the Final Mix moniker. The version sported all of the content found in the US release, as well as additional story elements that would bridge the gap between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. This version would not see an international release until these compilations. Looking back at my life, I've done many regretful things. What the hell, I'm sure this video won't be one of them. The game starts with... actually I'm not quite sure what this is. Boy drowns to the beat of J-pop and then wakes up in Disney Purgatory. Sounds about right. Like seriously, what is this? Am I playing Kingdom Hearts or watching a fucking L'Oreal commercial? Step forward, can you do it? That is insensitive. You're asked by the Disney elder gods what you value most. A sword, a shield, or a Mickey Mouse pencil topper. Which one you choose to take first and which one you choose to give up will affect your stat spread, as well as the types of abilities you can learn throughout the adventure. Kingdom Hearts places you in control of a young boy named Sora. He, along with his friends Riku and Kairi, hang out at Destiny Island. Day by day, the three of them get curious about what could lie beyond that endless sea of blue. To find out, they go about constructing a raft that'll take them to other worlds. All of a sudden, a hooded figure starts spouting off some cryptic nonsense before leaving. This is quite the throwaway scene and will have little impact on the rest of the series. Before they get themselves stranded and inevitably die at sea, strange creatures start manifesting the island. Sora ends up finding Kairi, but she miraculously vanishes. Sora does end up finding Riku, but he's too deep into his My Chemical Romance phase to give a shit. Backed into a corner with all hope seemingly lost, Sora is gifted the power of the Keyblade, which he uses to bludgeon these adorable monstrosities. Meanwhile, Donald Duck receives a message from King Mickey saying he's off on some important mission. The king instructs Donald, Goofy and Jiminy Cricket to go and find the next Keyblade wielder, as he will be the one to protect the world from darkness. After failing to fend off the monsters, Sora wakes up in Traverse Town, a place where inhabitants go when their world is no more. He's quick to clash swords with Squall from FF8, going by Leon in this game. Leon brings him to meet Yuffie from FF7. Together, they educate Sora on the Heartless, the creatures who attacked his island. You see every living thing as a heart. Well, not a literal one. Well, yeah, a literal one, but also a person who's become susceptible to darkness loses their heart and becomes a Heartless. The heart, from what I can tell, is linked to what a person perceives as their identity, their soul in other words. I think that's how Nomura wants me to interpret it. I haven't really gone into the philosophy or theory side of this franchise, I'm just going off of what future games tell me. The story's up its own arse, basically. Sora and Leon quickly jump into action once another batch of Heartless starts swarming Traverse Town. It's there where Sora, Donald and Goofy meet face to face for the very first time. The three of them join forces to hunt down the whereabouts of Riku and Kairi, as well as the missing king, liberating each of the Disney worlds from the Heartless along the way. But first, we need to name our ride, the Gummy Ship. It needs to be a name that's big, powerful, something that will strike fear throughout the cosmos. Perfect. While all this is going on, Maleficent is conjuring up a plan to use the 7 Princesses of Heart to unlock the door to Kingdom Hearts, the key to ultimate power. Why is there always 7? Riku, who runs into Sora early on, is also working for Maleficent after giving up his heart to the darkness. She somehow manages to convince Riku that Sora doesn't care about him anymore because he's found new friends. Either Riku is incredibly insecure or he and Sora have one very toxic relationship. In fact, he should know that's complete bullshit because A, he's known Sora for years, and B, Sora is overjoyed to see him in this one cutscene. Perhaps even a little bit too happy. Stop that. Riku is mad because he believes Sora has failed in his duty to keep Kairi safe, so in response, he obstructs Sora from keeping Kairi safe. What? Like, I understand that they're teens and you can't expect them to behave rationally all the time. It just seems like a contrivance to give Sora a Vegeta to his Goku. Although in this case, I guess Naruto and Sasuke would be more accurate. Thank God he gets better. I really like Riku. He's one of my favourite characters, but he is borderline stupid in this game. Eventually, Sora does find a comatose Kairi as well. Her body's there, but her heart's long gone. Sora and company's journey culminates at Hollow Bastion, at the heart of all darkness. Riku greets Sora by robbing him of his keyboard. I put keyboard. What the fuck did I put keyboard in the script? Riku greets Sora by robbing him of his Keyblade as well as Donald and Goofy because King's orders. With the help of the Beast, Sora is able to catch up to Riku and reclaim the Keyblade through the power of friendship. Trapped in a corner, Riku allows himself to merge with this hooded figure. The hooded figure is revealed to be a man named Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. You can read more about him in these Ansem reports you find throughout the game, although it's really not that important. All you need to know is that he lost his body doing evil shit and now he's going to use Riku's body to do more evil shit. After giving Maleficent her send-off, Sora and now the fully possessed Ansem Riku have one more fight to the death, with the latter retreating for the time being. Separated from Ansem, Riku wakes up in the land of darkness, with the voice of a certain someone guiding him. The princesses are given their hearts back, all except Kairi. It turns out that Kairi's heart was trapped inside of Sora all along. Remember this? No, I didn't pick up on that either. Sora makes the ultimate sacrifice and saves Kairi at the cost of turning himself into a Heartless. For about 5 minutes and then he's brought back through the power of friendship. The gang leaves Hollow Bastion only to come right back after leaving. What was the point of that? Before Sora heads off to confront Ansem, Leon and crew are there to say their final goodbye. Once Sora's restored the Forgotten Worlds, the pathway linking each of them will be destroyed. With that, Sora heads through the portal and battles his way to Ansem. After a grueling fight, they manage to find Kingdom Hearts, with Sora coming to the ultimate realization that Kingdom Hearts is not darkness, but... With Ansem defeated, Riku and Sora close the door to darkness, with a little help from King Mickey on the side. The worlds ravished by the Heartless are being restored at the consequence of Sora once again being separated from Riku and Kairi, leaving him right back at square one. With nothing but a long winding road ahead of them and the trio incredibly demoralised, Hope arrives in the form of Pluto the dog, with him a letter bearing the King's seal. With that, Sora, Donald and Goofy run off to their next adventure in the hopes of reconvening with Riku and King Mickey. If you beat the game on Proud Mode or achieve 100% completion, you get a sneak peek at the then upcoming Kingdom Hearts 2. I have a problem with teasing sequels within games. Even if games sell well, there's no guarantee that another game in the series will be made. See Banjo 3 for example. Even then, if it does see a release, the game could easily fall victim to creating unrealistically high expectations if left too long. Aha, aha, aha. KH1 is at a slight disadvantage mechanically, being the pioneer game, although that really is debatable if you've seen the rest of the series. The benefit of that, however, is that the story is much simpler and requires no knowledge of other games to grasp what's going on. You might think that's a no-brainer, but trust me, you'd be surprised. It's almost as if the people writing this game were actually focused on writing a story instead of writing a bazillion twists to clear up plot threads that only occur because they feel the need to keep writing more twists. There is more to it if you want to go deeper, but the story on a base level can pretty much be summed up in one sentence. Boy wants to find friends, hijinks ensue. Evil people are evil, go club them to death. Character writing is not as tight as it could be. I've already harped on Riku long enough, so I don't feel the need to elaborate further. Sora, Donald and Goofy have some fantastic chemistry in later entries, but that isn't quite the case here. You may also notice that I've neglected to mention the Disney worlds: Olympus Coliseum, Wonderland, Deep Jungle, Agrabah, Atlantica, Monstro, Halloween Town and Neverland. That's because they don't really have any bearing on the story. There's also 100 Acre Wood as well, and that mostly has minigames and has nothing to do with anything, so I ignored it. They are more or less just an excuse to get you involved in the plot of their respective movies. The characters within these worlds also don't get enough time dedicated to them to really flesh them out. These worlds are more or less tasters and should only really be seen as a one-off, and hey, I'm okay with that. Any break I get from wrapping my head around the story is an offer I can't refuse. A lot of the Disney actors also reprise their respective roles. James Woods as Hades is an absolute delight. There are certain performances where you can just tell the VA was having such a great time, and that's what I get with him every time he appears in these games. Generally speaking, the lip flaps for these sorts of games are synced to the Japanese voices first, with the English dub getting the short end of the stick. The Kingdom Hearts team took some extra time to make sure each of the lines matched up with the original lip movements. Standard practice now, sure, but in 2002 voice acting and pre-rendered cutscenes were still in their infancy, so the effort cannot be understated. My main issue with these cutscenes is the constant flip-flop between pre-rendered graphics and in-game graphics, sometimes even within the same cutscene. As for the Final Fantasy cast, I can't really comment on them much. Although I will say Cloud and Aerith definitely seemed more interesting in their original games, but maybe that's just me. Kingdom Hearts is an action RPG. Battles are played in real time. Stand there and the enemy will just keep welling on you. It's much faster than the slower, more methodical turn-based system established by Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. Donald is your essential all-in-one mage. Offensive or supportive magic, he has it all. He is unfortunately very frail though. Goofy on the other hand is the tank of the team. He may not be as strong as Donald or Sora, but he can soak up hits, which makes him ideal for handling healing items. You can manipulate what Donald and Goofy do based on the items you give them, and you can also toggle specific settings within the menu. I wouldn't waste your time on that though. Regardless of what you do, Donald and Goofy will undoubtedly get knocked out first, forcing you to pick up the slack. Goofy isn't all that bad so long as you designate him as the potion boy. Donald on the other hand, yeah, that's a different story. Donald's AI is flat out stupid, whether it be casting Cure when you've just finished doing that yourself, or healing an enemy with the wrong elemental magic. Each world you go to will also give you the option to take a Disney character associated with that world in exchange for either Donald or Goofy. It's cool for those who want to have a party of their favourites, but since I have next to no nostalgia for them, I mostly just stick with Donald and Goofy. Like I said, I just like the chemistry that these three have. Sora's a nice mixture of the two, decent defences, a wide variety of magic skills at his disposal, however his defining feature is the Keyblade. During your stay with the Kingdom Hearts series, your thumb and the X button will have a very intimate relationship. Most of the encounters in this game can be shoved through by hacking and slashing your way to victory. As you level up, you'll unlock new abilities such as extensions to your basic combo or special melee attacks at the cost of some MP. You need a certain amount of ability points to equip them all though, so you're not unstoppable. If there's one thing that the Kingdom Hearts series does phenomenally well, is the feeling of progression and growth. going from a scrawny weakling barely able to take out a few Heartless to cutting them down like grass, and it only gets better from here. Oh, I can practically taste Kingdom Hearts 2. The magic meter also operates a little bit differently compared to the rest of the series. KH1 doesn't suffer from first game syndrome that badly, but this is one area where it's certainly noticeable. Your magic meter will refill the more you attack your enemies head on. Melee combat in this game specifically is so much more effective than magic in my opinion. You can literally keep bonking away, and if your health ever gets low, whip out a cure spell and you're good to go. Rinse and repeat. It's not that the other spells aren't helpful, it's that you can only hotkey 3 of them at a time, one of them being cure because you'd be stupid not to, let's be honest. Realistically, you only have 2 spells on standby. Later on, Aero is damn near essential, so the amount of experimentation you have is, well, minimal. You can manually select each spell from the menu, but that's slow and not something I recommend doing, especially when Billy Zane keeps kicking your ass. Summons come in the form of familiar Disney characters. You can activate these periodically to give you a helping hand. With the exception of Tinkerbell, they require the sacrifice of Donald and Goofy to even use, so their effectiveness is debatable at best. They're crowd pleasers more than anything. In fact, I forgot I even had them most of the time. That is, until I discovered the Bambi summon. You know, I've heard countless people say how broken magic is in Kingdom Hearts, and if this were 3 I'd agree, but I never understood until now. See, in Kingdom Hearts 1 I never did use magic much because you need to be stationary while using it and magic runs dry fairly quickly. With this, you don't even need to think, just make like a Pika main and thunder spam to win. As long as the deer's in play, you're never gonna run out of MP. That means you can keep casting Aero, you can keep refilling your health, and you can keep attacking the enemies with your elemental magic. Like any other RPG, you have to think about what items and equipment you'll bring into battle. Traverse Town will be your central hub in this regard. Materials can be synthesized via the Moogle shop to give you better weapons and armor. It's here where you can also craft the Ultima weapon. I don't know guys, it's powerful for sure, but once you get it, there's nothing really to use it on, so I don't bother most of the time. After completing certain worlds, you're gifted with new Keyblades, which pretty much boils down to choosing the higher number. There are slight advantages to choosing one over the other, but by the end of the game some Keyblades are just flat out outclassed. You'd think given how much effort and time goes into designing each Keyblade that they will give you more of an incentive to use them, but sadly no, and that's a shame because a lot of these look really cool. As you can see, you do have a lot of variables to work with, but all these options don't really mean much if there's one dominant strategy. Before anybody says anything, yes, I did play this game on normal, and no, I don't see Kingdom Hearts' lack of challenge to be a bad thing necessarily. A lot of people recommend that first time players should play on Proud Mode, the hardest difficulty. I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment to be honest. It's true that the standard battles are pretty easy, but the boss fights on the other hand are not pushovers. They're by no means impossible, but you will need to micromanage your health and magic meters a lot more than your average scuffle. Even then, there are some games where I just don't want to be challenged, you know? Sometimes I want to feel a power trip to become the badass I've always wanted to be. Kingdom Hearts may not be hard, but it sure is relaxing. A challenge is there if you want to opt into it, like no XP runs or critical mode later on in the series. That's why I love Pokemon so much. The basic mechanics are easy to understand, but it has complexity for players willing to dig below the surface. When you're not fighting, there's a fair amount of platforming and exploration. The problem is, it's shit. Bless the developers for trying though. These are classic Disney worlds, so what kid wouldn't want to explore them? You can clearly tell that these levels were made under the assumption that Kingdom Hearts was going to be a 3D platformer before they settled on the action RPG concept. It's not that the design of these worlds are bad, far from it, they're actually pretty good. The controls just aren't built for them. Sora can't jump very far, and the level of control you have mid-jump is not great. Not Castlevania bad, but still pretty damn bad. I've also found that there's a slight delay between when you press the button and when you actually jump, although I could just be imagining that one. Dotted around the map are Trinity marks, which you can use to get extra goodies if you're willing to hunt them down. Most of the time though, I don't really go out my way to find them since you're going through the exact same areas with nothing new to see. It's also another reason why I don't normally bother with any additional party members, since you need Donald and Goofy for these to actually work. There's also the 101 Dalmatians, which are in fact worth collecting if you plan on fully upgrading your spells. While combat can get repetitive at times, enemy variety here isn't bad. 3D hack and slashers are guilty of making you fight the same enemies over and over again. Kingdom Hearts meanwhile takes those same enemies and reskins them to fit each of the worlds. The instruments used in the battle theme are also adapted, so you're not hearing the same theme ad nauseum. Yoko Shimomura is one of my favourite composers in this industry. Her music is always a great listen, especially the more bouncy upbeat tracks. Between this and Mario & Luigi, she has made some fantastic stuff. The final mix version also graces our ears with orchestrated remixes, which are heavenly. Your ride the Gummy Ship can also be customised at your leisure. Most of the fun you have with the Gummy Ship is more fun that you make yourself. There are bonus objectives that you can do to net your extra parts, but you don't ever need them. Take it from me, you can beat the game spending little time editing the Gummy Ship. Just buff out your armour occasionally, add a few weapons and you're good to go. The problem with that though is that they're just so boring. The building menu isn't very intuitive either, which is why I don't bother making my own creations most of the time. Believe you me, the Gummy Ship is great going forward, but KH1 certainly doesn't give you the best first impression. The low points of this game for me would have to be Atlantica and Hollow Bastion, or at least the second visit to Hollow Bastion. Atlantica's swimming controls aren't too bad when you're just exploring, in fact they're better than the platforming control. The combat however takes a massive nosedive. It's slow and enemies in this world often take more hits compared to any other, and then you have these fuckers which split into little enemies after you defeated them. I was never flat out bored or frustrated in these parts, but it's easily something the game could have done without. Hollow Bastion on the other hand is just annoying. For the first part you have to rely on the beast to attack enemies for you since you've lost the Keyblade, and we all know how reliable Kingdom Hearts AI is. Then, for some bizarre reason, they force you to go through the entire thing again, just to get back to the portal leading to the final world. Why? It's not any harder than it was before, all you're doing is padding out game time. Post game is slim pickings, but what is here is cool. First, there's the Colosseum, where you're asked to defeat a gauntlet of Heartless, and there's even some Final Fantasy characters in there for you to battle. Like this obscure fellow for example. He doesn't speak a single word in this game, and that's good because if he did, they'd probably kill you. I cannot beat this guy for the life of me, his attacks do so much damage, and my god, the range. To be fair, you can beat this fight before the final boss if you wanted to make Ansem easier, but at that point you might as well just tough it out if Ansem's giving you a hard time. Finally, in the final mix version, we have none other than Darth Maul. Yes, the seeds of the Disney Lucasfilm acquisition were planted in Kingdom Hearts of all things. Nomura, you cheeky bastard, you knew all along. For real though, this character is Xemnas, someone you'll know quite well by the end of the series, oh boy. This fight is actually plot important by the way, and we never got to play it, I'm just pointing that out. I don't want to give the impression that I dislike this game. On the contrary, Kingdom Hearts is actually one of the better games in the series, which is... I still had fun with it, it's just outclassed by the far better Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. Combat, Gummy Ship, exploration, the works. It's certainly not a bad starting point, especially if you actually want to comprehend the plot, but it isn't something I can just jump on like its sequels. I mean, it's proper sequels. If you're getting the collection for KH2 anyway, which you should because KH2 is fucking awesome, then there's no harm in trying this. It's a solid game, but nothing more.